Hello everyone, my name is Nilanjan Chatterjee and today we have come with a new series of videos concentrating on the three pillars of ancient Indian art and architecture. In this video, I'll be talking about the Gandhara School of Art, and in the next two videos, we'll be concentrating on Mathura and Amravati School of Arts. Okay, let's come to the first slide. The Gandhara, Mathura and Amravati schools of art represent three major sculptural traditions of ancient India, okay, flourishing between the 2nd century BCE and 4th century CE, rooted in religious expression and regional aesthetics. This is very important, religious expression and regional aesthetics. If we look at particularly Gandhara School of Art, we'll see how Buddhism played an important role in the artistic manifestation of Gandhara School of Art and regional aesthetics. Okay, the region in which these school of arts they are flourishing, okay, they are emerging. These traditions profoundly shaped Indian and Pan-Asian artistic heritage. So each school developed distinctive style influenced by local materials. That is one way of looking at history through the material culture, cultural context and religious practices. Okay, now let's come to the next slide, that is the historical context of the Gandhara School of Art. The first point is the geographic setting. The Gandhara school developed in the northwestern frontier of the Indian subcontinent, an area that included parts of modern-day Pakistan and eastern Afghanistan. This strategic location on the Silk Route facilitated interactions with, this is very important, West Asia, Central Asia and the Mediterranean, making it a melting pot of aesthetics as well as philosophy. It is not only about aesthetics, it is also about different cultures of spirituality and philosophies. Okay. The next point is the political influence. Okay, during the early centuries of the Common Era, Gandhara became the nucleus of Greco-Buddhist art under the Kushana Empire. This is very important. Okay, Kushana Empire actually popularized the Gandhara School of Art. Emperor Kanishka, that is from 78 to 144 CE, provided crucial impetus to the growth of Buddhist art. How Gandhara School of Art is being religionized, that we can see from the Kushana period. Okay, it has been religionized through his adaptation of Mahayana Buddhism and establishment of Peshawar as his capital. Since Peshawar was located in the northwestern part of the subcontinent, it became one of the centers of the Gandhara School of Art during the Kushana period. Cultural significance, the Gandharan arts or artists drew from Hellenistic Roman models introduced by Bactrian Greeks and Indo-Greeks, adapting them into Buddhist narratives. So, the Bactrian Greeks and the Indo-Greeks, the way they are coming to the northwestern part of South Asia, they are carrying the Greco-Roman Hellenistic influences, Hellenistic features of art forms and influencing Gandhara School of Art. This school marked the first anthropomorphic representations of the Buddha. Buddha not as a god but rather as a human being. That was the portrayal of the Gandhara Buddha. Okay, revolutionizing Buddhist devotional practices. So when you conceptualize some deity, you always try to deify, mystify that entity. Okay, but Gandhara School of Art actually humanized, anthropomorphized the image of Buddha. Now let's talk about the materials and techniques used in the Gandhara School of Art. First point is the blue-grey schist. Okay, Gandhara artists primarily used blue-grey schist, a type of metamorphic stone found in abundance in the Swat and Peshawar valleys. Okay, the hardness and fine grain of this stone allowed for precise detailing. That is the key feature of the Gandhara School of Art. essential for capturing the naturalistic folds and robes and facial features borrowed from Hellenistic art, from Greco-Roman art. The close attention towards details, okay, that is possible only with the help of blue-gray schist because of the nature of the material. Next point is stucco work. Okay, this is another very important point. Stucco work used in Gandhara school of art. By the 3rd century CE in Gandhara, artists began using stucco, okay, a more pliable and less durable material that allowed mass production, okay, unlike the schists, and finer modeling of softer features, okay. Stucco work frequently featured polychrome paint to animate the figures further, okay. After the usage of stucco, we can see polychrome paint on the sculptures, Gandhara sculptures, which is also a very important point. Multiple colors were used on different sculptures, Gandhara sculptures. Third point, that is carving techniques. The carving techniques used in the Gandhara school of art included deep relief, chiseling, undercutting for creating dramatic depth in the art form, and careful finishing using abrasives, okay. Metal tools like iron chisels, punches and hammers were common, likely influenced by Greco-Roman sculptural practices. We see a lot of Greco-Roman sculptural influence on the Gandhara school of art. Now let's come to the stylistic characteristics of Gandhara school of art. The Greco-Roman influence that I've already mentioned. Gandhara art is characterized by realism, which is very important, and classical influence, okay. The sculptural forms echo Greco-Roman aesthetics, realistic anatomy of human body, naturalistic drapery, and contrapposto stance, okay. Contrapposto stance is particularly Hellenistic, okay, and like you see in this image, that is called contrapposto stance, and three-dimensional modeling, okay. Figures exhibit deep set eyes, aquiline noses, sharp jawlines and curly hair, okay. These are all mostly Aryan features, okay, isn't it? I think it is understandable. These are mostly Aryan features which we can see particularly in the Greco-Roman civilization and in the northwestern part of India, okay. Next point, narrative framing. Scenes are represented with a narrative logic resembling Roman reliefs, where visual framing, columns, arches and pediments enhances dramatic storytelling. So storytelling is one of the key features of the Gandhara school of art, although in Amravati school of art, we will discuss later on, it is a much bigger phenomenon, okay. Multiple episodes appear within a single panel, demonstrating temporal progression, okay. Now the next point is drapery and realism. Drapery plays a very crucial stylistic role in the Gandhara school of art. Buddha figures in Gandhara school of art wear pleated garments that cling to the body, modeled with deep incised lines and creating a sense of fluid motion. This fluidity is also taken from Hellenistic culture. Now the emphasis on musculature and facial expression enhances realism. You can get an idea about the obsession with realism in Gandhara school of art from this sculpture, I think. Now let's talk about the iconography and symbolism in Gandhara school of art. First of all, anthropomorphic Buddha that I've already mentioned. First, human representation with Greco-Roman features, the human representation of Buddha. The second point is divine attributes, okay. Sometimes in Gandhara school of art, we'll find halos behind the head of Buddha, okay. And royal insignia emphasizing the divinity. These are all either Greco-Roman or Persian influences, okay. Symbolic gestures, abhaya, dhyana, dharma chakra mudras, okay. These are very important mudras used in the Gandhara school of art. I repeat, Abhaya, Dhyana and Dharma Chakra Mudra. And finally, narrative scenes that I've already mentioned, life stories and jatakas in architectural frames. Okay, Gandhara iconography introduced anthropomorphic representation of Buddha for the first time in history, and bodhisattvas are richly adorned with princely robes and jewelry, underlining their transitional state between samsara, which is familial bondings, and nirvana, that is liberation. Now let's talk about the major archaeological sites of the Gandhara school of art. One is Takhti Bahi, the next is Jamalgadhi, Hadda, Butkara, Sahri Bahlol. These are the major Gandhara architectural and archaeological sites. Okay, the key archaeological sites of the Gandhara school include Takhti Bahi, Jamalgadhi, Butkara, Sahri Bahlol and Hadda. These were primarily monastic complexes featuring stupas, votive shrines and living quarters for monks. Takhti Bahi, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, you have to remember this, features highly developed narrative reliefs and sculptures dating from 1st to 5th century CE. Okay, artifacts from these sites are housed in the institutions like Peshawar Museum, Lahore Museum, British Museum and the Indian Museum of Calcutta. Okay, the Bimaran casket, I'm repeating, the Bimaran casket discovered from a stupa mound is one of the earliest known relic containers depicting a human image of Buddha that is found from the Gandhara region. Now we've come to the final slide, that is the religious context and the artistic intent. The Gandhara school of art primarily aligned with Mahayana Buddhism, which emphasized the cosmic nature of the Buddha, the ideal of the Bodhisattva and salvation through faith and compassion. The shift from aniconism and anthropomorphism mirrored a broader doctrinal transformation. I've already mentioned what is the meaning of anthropomorphism, and artworks often depict the Buddha as a celestial teacher. This is a very important point. A celestial teacher who's powerful, majestic and commanding. Okay, the frequent depiction of miracles, conversions and legendary tales served didactic and inspirational purposes.